All right, what's up, everybody? The Detroit Lions have a decision to make. One of the players that they were trying to bring back has now received an offer from another team. They have time to decide if they want to match that offer. So in this video, we're going to do three things. We're going to talk about who the player is, what the offer is to that said player. All right, it's Brock Wright. I'm not going to make you keep waiting for too long. And then we're going to talk about how the Lions can replace him. Brock Wright has been an important part of this team, and we saw how important tight end depth can be. So we are going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about the financials and everything. But before we get into that, couple of things for you. If you're watching this on Saturday, happy Easter weekend. If you are watching it on Sunday, he is risen indeed. Man, just love Easter weekend. We'll be heading to church. My wife this morning made her famous sourdough cinnamon roll type thing, and it is, we just enjoyed some serious breakfast before I made this video. But anyways, if you have yet to subscribe to this channel, please consider doing so. We're making a push for 20,000. We would love to be there in the next month. Just another milestone, but really cool just to show what we've been doing and what this channel has been building with you, the community. So here, let's take a look. Detroit Lions in danger of losing tight end Brock Wright to none other than the 49ers, who Brock Wright, I don't believe, was even available to play in that NFC Championship game against the 49ers. So maybe they saw some things that they were in danger, or they realized there were some things we absolutely could not do. So here's what you need to know about Brock Wright. We offered Brock Wright a restricted free agent tender this offseason. It was worth $3 million for all intensive purposes. 1 year, $2.985 million. All right, so at that point, he had two options: sign the 1 year deal or continue to look for a better offer elsewhere. Obviously, he continued to look for the better offer elsewhere. Otherwise, the 49ers would not be able to make this. Here is the update. Dave Burkett, trusted source, said the offer from the San Francisco 49ers is a 3-year, $12 million contract. So it's not so much that the money this year is insane, right? It's going from $3 to $4 million. That's not the big deal. The question is, how much of it's guaranteed? And it's a 3-year deal. Do we want to commit to $4 million a year for the next 3 years to a backup tight end? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. And I think here's the thing with Brock Wright. He's been a pretty good player. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's been a pretty good player. The problem is, I don't think he's a starting caliber player. So when you look at Brock Wright, one of the things that you're going to realize is that his grades are never going to be overwhelming. Last year, on only 14 targets, he had 13 catches. In other words, we used him in positions where we knew he would get open. He was never the first option. There was one time that he was the first option, and he took that to the house for a touchdown. And the only catch he didn't have was a drop. So he was open for every single one of his targets. But at the same time, his grades, if you are a PFF person, have never been great. He doesn't get great separation or anything like that. He is your standard second, third tight end type player. I think he can play as a second tight end. I think he's better suited as a third tight end on a team, but tight ends are important. Injuries absolutely happen. You saw what happened to Laporta. So there needs to be depth in the tight end room. So I started looking and wondering, can we do better on the free agency market? Not really. Maybe bringing in a veteran, something like that. I don't know. Brock Wright's only 25 years old. He's a young guy. He's had 3 years in the league, and he's just a guy that you can know and you can lean on and you can trust. Here's the thing, and I think is a common misconception about Brock Wright, is that he's a great run blocker. He's not a great run blocker. He's actually not. He is a very good pass blocker, so if you keep him in line and have him actually pass block, he does that very, very well. But that's about it, and that's kind of weird for a tight end. So I just wanted to show you now, for the remainder of this video, we'll go back and talk about other things, who are some of the players we can replace him with. So here's what I want you to fill the comments with. Number one, do we pay Brock Wright 3 years, $12 million? Is he worth it? That's question number one. Number two is, how do you want to replace him? Do you go get a veteran tight end? Do you just use the draft and draft a tight end? It is not a heavy tight end draft, I will say that, but there are some good players. There are some good players that are draftable. So let's talk about a few of those players. The first one that we're going to look at here is a guy by the name of Ben Sinnott. All right. He's similar in size to Brock Wright. And this is a guy, what I like about him, he has the profile to honestly be a pretty solid player. He was pretty consistently good. He has good on yards per route run. In other words, they trusted him enough to go down the field. He has a good receiving grade and a good run block grade. The tight end who's going to be coming in, whoever we get, if we're going to replace Brock Wright, the one thing you have to realize is that first and foremost, his job is going to be a blocking tight end. Sam Laporta has the duties taken care of as far as the pass catching tight end goes. Their job is going to be a run block. So how well can they run block is going to be absolutely an important thing to know. All right, Sinnott is a true kind of jack of all trades type of guy. He can line up in the backfield. He's done that, which might be nice if we're not keeping a fullback this year. On the line of scrimmage, he's even lined up at receiver. His game lacks that true like trump card, but he's the type of football player every NFL team wants. Like, that is who this guy is. The next guy is a person that I know very well, and I would love this, and he's not expected to go off the board till like the late 100s. Like 170 to 100 or 200 is probably when he's going to be going off the board. As you can see, his run block grade is fantastic. It's one of the best, if not the best, run block grade in college football. He comes from a system at U of M who, I mean, come on. You see the Harbaugh, you see the Nico Collins. Like, come on. What are we doing here? You know where I'm at. All right. Sorry, State fans. I am sorry, but we can both love the Lions. All right. So anyways, he did a good job. He really did. He had 22 catches this year, 28 the year before. But when he came to Michigan is when he really shined. And what that was is he's mostly going to be an inline blocker that's going to run some routes. And you saw him grow as the season went on. But that's just someone who is a little bit older already and someone that I'm like, yeah, this guy absolutely could be a good player. He's an ideal tight end 2 or 3 for a team that likes run-heavy formations. Sound familiar? All right, now I'm going to go to complete opposite, so I'm going to show my lack of bias here, and we're going to go to the enemy of Michigan, the Ohio State Buckeyes, and Cade Stover. Cade Stover is more of a receiving tight end who has been told can block good enough. His run blocking grade is still better, actually, than Brock Wright's. Now, it's against college-level competition, but this is a guy who's simply hauled in more catches. He had over 500 yards receiving last year, 41 catches. He's a guy who can stretch the field just a little bit. He has more speed than I thought. At 250 to run in the 4.5s, really impressive. So this is a guy who you might be able to teach to block better, but can become more of a true tight end too. I see him being the one that's the closest to Laporta, and his draft position will say that. All right, his draft position will say that he'll go right around 100. So you'd have to spend more capital on him, maybe a third-round pick. Maybe our third-round pick. These other guys might be available in the 4th or 5th round. And the last one that I want to talk about is kind of the jack of all trades, is Jaheim Bell out of Florida State. This is a guy who started the year, and his average draft position before the year started was probably in the 50s, and it has dropped all the way into the late 100s. This is a guy who didn't have necessarily a bad year. He just didn't do anything phenomenal. 39 catches on 52 targets for 500 yards. His run blocking is good, not great. And his contested catch rate is good, not great. Like, it was a unique thing that he was put in there. And so, like, he can do a lot of things, but not like anything with just a ridiculous, I don't know how to say it, just nothing ridiculous. All right. But he's a good athlete that is a decent player. At 6'3", 240 pounds, he doesn't have that like ideal size, but he has good enough size. So anyways, I just kind of wanted to show you 4 tight ends as well to replace Brock Wright, because why not do it all on one show? The draft is coming up. Let's talk about it. All right. And most of these veteran tight ends in free agency are already gone. So that might be the decision we have to make and just rely on what we already have in-house to take up that primary or that secondary role right away. All right. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Happy Easter.